Hey guys, welcome back. Confidently Flawed, Danny here. Coming up on Halloween here, and I have an old friend with me here, David Andrews, who is, kind of stepping back into Raw a little bit more, helping out with like our semi-private program and kind of revamping that and putting his skill set to there. So David's kind of gone through some different experiences over the last few years that I think has given him a good skill set. And what I do like about David is he's very organized, very disciplined in terms of always trying to make improvements and find, you know, good ways to be productive and efficient and effective in different aspects of life. And one thing that I think a lot of people struggle with is just like setting the tone for their day and letting things kind of interrupt their habitual patterns or when they're trying to create new patterns in particular or new habits or what have you is there's a lot of things that kind of block them. And David and I were talking, and David kind of wanted to really touch on some of those things and things that he's learned over the years, whether through himself or with others. And that's kind of the concept of today is we're getting into the point of the holidays, right? Things are generally get a little bit more hectic or busy or things of that nature. So, what better time than now to have like a productivity system or a way to look at setting the tone for your day or, just making the most out of your day when you are busy. Because if you can do this now, it's just going to make this the ability to kind of turn it into a lifestyle. So I'm kind of talking big picture here because David, I want to kind of let you kind of dive into the nitty gritty of it. But David, I'll kind of pass it to you and kind of let you take it from here with, your thoughts on, just kind of setting the tone and what to do kind of with blockers and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, well, first, happy to be on here. I'm excited to blabber. Of course, I'm a talker, so whenever I can talk, it's my open forum. I'm just kidding, but yeah. So I don't know if if Danny you relate or anyone listening relates, but whenever I try a new system, when I read something about how this person's productive, how they journal, how they do things, I try it and it fails, and it's like, why isn't this working for me? And I think the reason why it doesn't always work for me and maybe it doesn't work for other people is because there's a whole new system that isn't wasn't designed for them. It works really well for this one, very successful business coach or fitness coach, whatever it may be, but it's not your life. So it doesn't mold on to what you need. And we get so caught up in planning the perfect day and how can we make let's say you're awake for, 18 hours that day, how can I make the most of those 18 hours? And so I'd like to kind of reframe for people is don't try to plan the perfect day. Plan a great first hour of the day. And then to me, it's all about building positive momentum. So if you can build out a great first hour, that will set the tone as the theme of this kind of podcast is setting the tone for the day to be productive, to get things done. And the thing is, like, I'm gonna give ideas of what sets the tone, but what I want to make sure is that the people listening understand that this is 1000% flexible. Whatever sets the tone for you might not set the tone for me. Figure out what sets the tone for you and works for your lifestyle, how you do things. So this is a very, I'm trying to make it very flexible and very adaptable. And it's not something that, that you have to go through crazy legwork to do. So a couple examples I have of for setting the tone for the day is for waking up at a good time and getting out of bed and stuff. Waking up and scrolling on your phone or keep hitting the snooze button. And I sometimes fall victim to the snooze button. That snooze button is very enticing sometimes. And so it's about setting the tone, saying, nope, I'm getting up. And even if you're not going to work right away or going to the gym right away, just the idea of, bam, I'm getting out of bed when my alarm told me to. I didn't doom scroll my phone for 30 minutes getting out of bed and starting my day off with anxiety and too much light and noise and all these types of things. I'm just starting the day on a very good, positive note. Then that's setting the tone to have a really good morning. Another one I think of, if we're thinking of health and fitness, is breakfast. A solid breakfast sets the tone for a great day of eating, of blood sugar levels, of hunger. Like for example, I know that if my ideal breakfast is oatmeal and Greek yogurt. If I have a thing of oatmeal and a cup of Greek yogurt, then I have set the tone for a great day of eating. I notice it all the way up until I go to bed that I've snacked less. I am more full, especially my nighttime snacking goes down a lot. So those things are setting the tone for me. Another one is, and I know, Danny, everyone at Ross says don't miss a Monday, but starting a workout, starting on Monday to get a workout in does set the tone for the week. If you skip Monday, maybe you skip Tuesday, and Wednesday something came up, so now it's Thursday, and we haven't gotten a workout in yet. And of course, things happen. We're not always gonna be perfect with our workout schedule, and that's totally fine. But if it starts becoming habitual, where we're missing and missing, and we're only getting a workout or two in a week, then we're not setting the tone for a good, strong week of workouts. Um, and then there's plenty more. I mean, and Danny, I'm not sure if you have any ones that you think of. But like another one I think of is, having a protein shake before going out to eat or drink with friends and being a little bit fuller, so you maybe don't, splurge on, the calorically dense food at the restaurant, or maybe you have one less cocktail, whatever it may be. But I think setting the tone for and you already hear me say set the tone a lot in this podcast, so I'm prepared to be irritated by me. But truly, these things do set the tone. All it takes is one positive action to start a good next choice, and then another good next choice. It just starts with that first action. Get the momentum going. It's hard to try to have a perfect day and have all these things juggled perfectly, but if you can just do one good thing at a time, I think you'll be amazed about the progress you can make in your day.
Yeah, I agree with that, David. And I guess like the thought that comes to my mind with this is like you hear a lot of things like this and like, the productivity or business, kind of, not just business, but like different aspects of there when it comes to like this kind of thing, setting the tone, your 4 hour day, you know what I mean? Or just all those things like, but you don't always hear it necessarily for health and fitness, right? So like, how do we train? And you kind of hinted at this on a couple of the habits, but like, I guess why should somebody care or focus on, the first couple hours of their day or the, setting the tone, if you will, when it comes to health and fitness? Like, what benefits do they have of that? And like, why should they kind of care about even being, productive or, setting, markers, at certain points of the day or what have you?
Yeah, I think one thing is that, especially for someone coming into a gym or like a nutrition or fitness regimen, that maybe they haven't been as active lately and eating as healthy lately, that can be very overwhelming. It can be so much kind of information overload that you kind of get stuck. So I think breaking it down to just start with one thing at a time. I think that makes it a lot more approachable. And so for those that are getting overwhelmed or don't know where to start, just pick something. And and like the reason why the morning works perfectly to set the tone for the morning, because then it kind of provides confines of what things you could focus on. Do you work out in the morning? Okay, perfect. You're gonna set the tone by a morning workout. Or if you work out in the evening, then you're gonna set the tone with a good breakfast, or you're gonna set the tone with waking up on time. Like it just it narrows it down to a certain amount of tasks versus like all the millions of things you could do with health and fitness in a day. It sets it to a few things that fit that time frame, and then you can adjust it based on how you work out, how you eat, what your day looks like. So I think one, just the overwhelming nature of health and fitness, it narrows it down. But I think the reason why have prioritizing it for the morning helps too is because sometimes it's so easy to forget about. Like if it's not a habit yet, if we get caught up in our day-to-day life, if we have a bad day at work, if we have, if things are crazy at home, and I don't have kids, of course, but if you have kids and the kids are running around the house crazy and you're just overwhelmed and you can't think or focus, that sometimes what you're eating or your fitness or your mindfulness kind of goes out the window. So if you can take care of it early in the morning before things kind of get hectic, then even if the rest of the day, blows up and it doesn't work out the way you wanted, at least you did get one, two, three good healthy habits in. And slowly that will build and build, and your habit will grow and grow. And then maybe in 6 months, a year, who knows, you'll have a lot more solid day. That is more resistant to those outside influence of, oh, because work was bad or because traffic was bad or whatever it may be. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think all that's important, and like, and we talk a lot about habits and stuff like this on this podcast, but like not necessarily for like how to set your tone, and how much it's going to be the snowball effect, but in a positive way. You know what I mean? And like, my opinion, like when I think of like like starting the day, like setting the tone, all of that. I'm a big believer. I do this in workouts, I do this in life, I do this when I wake up. Like, do the most important thing first, right? So like, what's the negative issue that you tend to have that you're trying to solve or fix? So like if you don't move your body enough, make the first thing you do moving your body, or if you struggle being productive at work, like start working right away. Don't push it off and have to do all these, like you have to do the cold plunge and then you have to do a sauna and then you have to do this and you have to like just do the thing that you need to do. So I think like where my mind goes and how I view it is I always try to do the most important thing first. And usually it's the thing that I struggle to get done or do or tend to push off, right? So if it's eating healthier, right? Like start your day with a very healthy breakfast, Greek yogurt and oatmeal. I do the same thing. Mine's usually not Greek yogurt. It's protein powder because it's easier for me. In oatmeal. And I probably have that 5 days a week on average for the last few years because it's just quick, easy. It gives me the nutrients I need. Um, and I always start that way. So for me, I have kind of three things, I guess, that I do every day, and it never changes. So my sleep and wake cycles are always the same. So I don't shift my bedtime around. I don't shift my wake time around for the most part. Um, where maybe within like a half hour range, I'm always sleeping. So, but for me, I value that. I would rather be as healthy as I can, be as productive as I can, because if I stay up till midnight or 1 p.m. or whatever, or 1 a.m., like I'm gonna drag the next day. I'm not gonna be a good father. I'm not gonna be productive at work. And for me, that doesn't that I don't the benefits of that the risk versus reward is not there for me, right? So I would rather just go to bed around 9:30 every day, wake up around 5:30 ish, 5:30. um if I'm just not feeling great or I didn't sleep well, maybe I'll sleep in, occasionally. But for the most part my body's used to doing that, right? So I set the tone with that, and I always start my day with a glass of water, always, no matter what. It seems like a small thing, but it makes a big impact, right? I'm setting my tone with a healthy habit. I'm setting my tone by hydrating because I haven't hydrated all night. So I always do that, and then usually for me, I go right to work because for me, that's the most important thing. That's the thing I need to get done. I don't have issues getting my workouts in, anything like that. So I'm going to focus on the thing that I need to do, which is being very productive at work. So I agree with you. I think a lot of that stuff is very good, and I don't know if you have a couple more, but the only other thing I wanted to say that's really helpful if you're trying to do something new like David was talking about, and that's where a lot of people fall off with the new stuff, is it's really helpful to stack it with something you already do. So for another thing that I always do is my supplements. Now I don't take all my supplements in the morning, but a lot of them I do. So if I take my supplements at or if I drink my water, I stack my supplement intake with my drinking my water, right? I mean, I take so many that I need water anyways to get it down, but it's stacking one habit, supplements, with another habit, water, something you already do. So if you're trying to do something new, like move your body during the morning or whatever it is, stack the new habit you're trying to do, like moving your body early, with something you already do. So if you always drink coffee first thing when you wake up, or you always go brush your teeth first thing when you wake up, do something that's going to remind you to go move your body. Go put your workout gear next to your toothbrush or in front of the coffee pot. So you literally have to move it to get there. You know what I mean? Because now you're more likely to do it. You're more likely to remember about it. And it stacks a new habit with an old habit, which makes it much more likely that you're successful with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fantastic, and I think that I mean I definitely I think many people would benefit from stacking that because it is easier, yes, to pair it versus something completely new. Um, and there's one thing that I wanted to touch on. I kind of touched on it briefly prior, but there really is no perfect one. Like whatever starts momentum, it's whatever starts momentum for you. And we all have different demands in life, and we all have different quirks and things we like and dislike. What drives us, what doesn't drive us. So, and if you're listening to this podcast, some of you might go, "Oh, I know exactly what my first thing is, what my number, what the first thing I'm stacking or the first thing I'm doing in the morning." Some of you may not. It may be trial and error, but that doesn't mean that you're just not meant for this or you're just not meant to be, productive or it's like, no, you just have to find the system that works for you and find the whatever your momentum starter is. But again, there is no perfect one. The reason I want to reiterate that so much is because as someone that likes to read and wants to find the way to make our brains work as much as we can. I want to extract the most out of me. That I get bummed out when I try a system that this book said or this YouTube said or this podcast said, and it just doesn't click. It just doesn't work. And it's like, man, it makes me feel bad about myself. I'm like, man, am I just an idiot? Like I just can't do anything. But in reality, it's just because the system wasn't designed for me, and that it works. There's nothing wrong with the system. It works great for that author or that host. It just doesn't work for me because it just doesn't align with who I am and what I do. And so, take some, maybe, when if you're listening to this on your drive to work, or maybe you're listening to this, while you're sipping your morning coffee, think what is going to be my momentum starter, and jot it down, put it in your phone on your notes, or if you have if you like true pen and paper, but jot down some ideas and explore them. And you may find quickly that maybe you like to do two or three, that one, you can do more than one. Other people, one is plenty for right now. And again, there is no right or wrong way. Just getting started, I think, is incredibly important. But and Danny made a great point that he knows where his like weaknesses are at. So like, he knows like getting his workouts in is not a problem. So making that his momentum starter doesn't necessarily click as much. I know for me, like nighttime snacking is like is where I definitely fall short in and I struggle with. So I know that if I prioritize that yogurt and oatmeal, then that momentum starter is really sets me up for a great day of eating. So just knowing yourself, knowing where your weaknesses are, and you might have to be a little honest with yourself. Maybe I don't want to say brutally honest, because the purpose isn't to like break you down to build you back up. Not that mentality. But just be honest with yourself. It might have some uncomfortable feelings, but see where you struggle at, where you falling short in some areas, and then you kind of come to the realization, okay, this is what I need to do for me to have the best day. Whether it be, I struggle to get my workouts in. All right, I'm coming to the 5:15 or whatever it may be. Or I'm just gonna do a quick workout in my living room because I have my workout at Rot in the evening. Just getting the body moving. But yeah, so just again, I'm gonna say it again, there is no perfect way. Just find the one that works for you. But one thing I wanted to touch on, I know we're kind of talking about the positives and positive momentum starters and things that get your day going well and get you off on the right foot and set you up for a day of success. But negative momentum is a thing too, and can be really impactful and challenging. And what I mean by negative momentum is, like for me, for example, I can't stand traffic. Traffic drives me insane. I do not have the tolerance for traffic. If I could just have a helicopter and fly everywhere, I would, and just rappel from a rope, because I cannot do traffic. And so I know that, like, let's say traffic really I'm driving home from somewhere and it's just horrible and it completely throws my mood off. I walk in the door, I'm like, man, I am angry. It might be very quickly for me to, okay, so then grab that comfort snack, and now I'm still angry. So, and I had that snack, and so now I'm just gonna go comfort and watch TV because that makes me feel comfortable, because I can sit on the couch and relax. And sooner or later, a few things have come up, and it's like, man, I'm 4 or 5 like habits or tasks deep into something that might be taking me a little bit farther from my goals. And so I'm calling these like negative momentum stoppers, things that you can do like once you start seeing things change and things start turning for the negative. What things can you do to go, nope, not happening. I'm stopping you where you're at, and not letting it get worse. So one thing, the first two things is things I've actually learned in therapy, and I think they're very beneficial. And one is telling yourself, I'm not thinking about this right now. So, and it's not saying you're never, let's say maybe you got in an argument with your boss. Yes, you might have to think about it at some point, because you might have to address a conflict, whatever it may be. But for example, if you have a family, if you have a spouse or anything like that, or even if you have just pets, you want to come home and you want to be the best for those people that you love. You need to say, I'm not thinking about this right now. Because if you carry home that anger from work, then you're gonna be miserable at home. You're not gonna be happy, and you might affect the people around you. So one is telling yourself, I'm not thinking about this right now. We can always revisit it when there's a time and place, and my mental state is right to go back to it. But right now, I'm too elevated. My nervous system's too aroused. I just say I'm not thinking about this right now. Another one is to literally imagine a stop sign when you're having these negative thoughts, like whatever it may be. If you're being flooded with negative talk and negative self-talk, negative feelings, just literally, I imagine the stop sign like springing up, like coming from like flat on the ground, like a 90-degree angle. I literally think of, and almost like it's hitting me in the face. I think of that stop sign, and it really helps me go, okay, stop. I'm not gonna dive deeper into this. or because I'm a ruminator, I'll stay up all night thinking and ruminating and pondering what I did right and what I did wrong and who I've offended. All this, so sometimes I really have to tell myself, stop. But another one, and I know this sounds cliche or like things you everyone tells you, and I kind of touched on this on the semi-private video about breath work, but truly the power of taking a few minutes for deep breaths is really, I mean, it really is powerful. I mean, actually, if and you can Google all different types of like breathing schemes of how long you're inhaling and exhaling and holding. I mean, you can find what works for you and what works for, just what you like, what you feel gives you the benefit. But truly, it is so powerful. And like one of the things that a lot of breath work, like for like meditation sessions, they'll tell you is like if you kind of get sidetracked, whatever, just focus on where you feel your breath. Like I feel my breath kind of right underneath my chest, where like my sternum meets my rib cage, and it's like kind of diaphragmic area. Like that's where I feel my breath. So if I'm doing deep breathing and if I'm trying to get myself regulated and bring myself back down to earth and stop the negative momentum, I'm going to focus on feeling that breath right in that area. You may feel the breath in your mouth as you're inhaling, or the cool exhales coming out of your nose. You can feel it anywhere. Again, there's no right way to feel it, whatever, however you feel the breath, but paying attention to where you feel that breath in your body and paying attention to the sensations of breathing, it will truly do you a huge favor. So even though I said you can, search up whatever ones you want, one that I'm a huge believer in, and a lot of people are seem to really enjoy it. It's called box breathing. And for those that aren't familiar with box breathing, you inhale for 4 seconds, then you hold your breath. You hold that inhale for another 4 seconds. You exhale fully for 4 seconds, then you hold that exhale. So like you hold that lack of breath for another 4 seconds. And you keep, it's like a square. That's why it's called box breathing. And you keep repeating that, and you can do it for a minute. You can do it if you want to do it for longer. Please knock yourself out. Do it for 10 minutes. If you really commit to doing this breathing for a few minutes, I think you will notice that, okay, my nervous system is less aroused. I'm a little bit more regulated. I'm a little bit more calm. I may not be perfect. I might still be a little anxious or mad, or I still feel like I'm spiraling, but I've taken a second to pause. And even just taking that second to pause and like kind of get yourself down, like back to earth might help you reshift your mind and make a positive momentum starter decision versus another negative momentum starter. Another one is going for a walk. And forget one. I think we should all be walking more just for overall general health. I mean, I think Danny, you'd agree to that. Most Americans could do a lot more walking for just given our sedentary lifestyles. Walking is fantastic for us. But to me, the power for walking, for being upset or having a bad day, it's just getting those good endorphins. And it doesn't have to be a long walk. You don't have to walk, a marathon or anything, but a walk around the block, or if the weather's bad or if your area isn't super walking conducive, in the treadmill or walking up the stairs, down and back, walking around your yard. I mean, get creative with it. Your neighbors might be confused why it's been 30 minutes of you pacing around your yard, but it doesn't really matter what they think. But going for a walk and just clearing your mind, and that might also allow you to think about what's going on, but think about it in a positive way. Thinking, why are things spiraling down? What has gone wrong from the start of this day till now that has got me to where I'm at, and how can I shift course or redirect? Um, Another one that I'm a big fan of is music. I think music is absolutely fantastic. It can be any type of music. Again, whatever makes you feel good. I mean, I definitely wouldn't put on like breakup country music. That might not make you feel good. Those types of songs tend to make everything feel bad. But maybe like for me, my upbeat music, like the music I like to listen to when I'm in a good mood, is early 2000s hip hop. Like that genre of music, like when I hear the Franchise Boys, like I'm feeling good. Like that music
The
just makes
big
me
white
feel so
tees.
good. What would you say?
They're big white tees.
Yeah, the white tees, yeah. And that music makes me feel so good. So if I'm having a bad day, maybe I'll put the music in and go for a walk. So I'm listening to music that makes me happy. I'm going for a walk. And now, and now I feel a little bit better. Again, it may not have cured me. These aren't cures, but these are things to redirect focus. And that's why I want to, if I haven't made that clear, again, each of these things I've listed aren't things that completely redirect the day, but they redirect your mind to say, okay, maybe I can think differently. Maybe I can choose differently. I'm not going to let these things spiral. Another one, and I kind of touched on it with the breathing, is meditation. Meditation's crazy powerful. You can even go on YouTube, search free meditation, no ads, and you can find so many different things. You can do pain, you can do bad day, you can do chronic illness. There's so many different types of meditations you can find that I think are so helpful. And so I'm a big proponent of meditation. I know for some people that might sound a little like woo-woo, not really up their alley, but I promise you, give it a try. And I know that what some people are saying to themselves right now is, I can't shut my mind off. And that's what people mostly say when they're going against meditation. But I'll actually throw out my mom for this example. When she visited me, we went to a Buddhist temple for meditation. And my mom is similar to me, where our brains are always kind of going, like we're not the most calm and docile kind of people. And there's a thing where we were counting 1 through 10, our breaths 1 through 10 for like 10 minutes. And like for people like my mom and I, that's like, oh my gosh, that's a million years. I can't believe, and I remember my mom and I talked about it after, and she was saying for the first few minutes, she was like, man, I'm really struggling. But then you keep persisting, and you get through it. And again, the point of meditation isn't to silence your brain, it's to connect with yourself. And so I'll give you a quick tip on meditation, then I'll move off of meditation. But when you're doing a meditation, if you're having a thought come in about work, about life, about whatever, just go thought. Just label it thought and let it fly by. And just imagine it like a little bird, it's floating by, you labeled it a thought, and it flew by, and now it's gone. You can address it when you're done with meditation. But take this 5 minutes, this 10 minutes, whatever time you set aside, and make that time for yourself. I'll do one more and I'll let Denny talk. I know I've been talking for a bit now. One thing I'm a big fan of, there's a name brand one, but it was really expensive, so I bought a cheaper one online. But if you search acupressure mats, um, they're like these foam mats that are about the size of your back, and they have about quarter-sized pieces of plastic on them, all over them. And on those quarter-sized pieces of plastic are kind of sharp plastic teeth. And I know that some people that are going, what is this? You lay on it, and at first it's uncomfortable. At first it takes some getting adjustment to. But to me, when I'm in pain, when I'm having a bad day, to me that's one of my biggest like turnarounds. I'm gonna put my music in. I'm gonna lay on my mat. I'm gonna elevate my feet. And I'm just gonna. Sometimes I'll set a timer for 30 minutes and go. I'm gonna be here for 30 minutes. And sometimes my brain goes, reach for your phone and go on YouTube or all these types of things. And it's even being present to go, I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm just going to lay on this mat and be here. So search it up, acupressure mat. It is a huge game changer. It might take some getting used to it at first, but I think it is incredible. I think it's a tool that to me, it's like the hidden secret that not enough people are doing. So I can't recommend it enough. But yeah, Danny, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I remember you and I talked about that, and I forgot about it. I had to wait till my budget or something like that. I didn't want to spend at the moment, and then I forgot about it. I need to get back to that. I should try it for sure. I mean, I like where you're going with that, and I like the thought of like we always think of like, all right, what are the things I need to do this, I need to do that, right? Like all the things I need to do. I like the idea of like the negative blockers, right? Or the negative, what did you call it? Negative.
Like the
Um,
negative momentum stoppers.
Yeah, so the negative momentum stoppers, like, because we don't always think of it that way, and it reminds me of like we use this a lot when we're coaching clients, is like, the distraction method, right? Like, what's the trigger that's causing the issue or the bad habit that you want or that you have going on, and like sit on the couch and then I veg out and I start snacking, everywhere. Well, instead of doing A to B, go A to C over here first when you realize the trigger, right? Which is maybe sitting down on the couch at the end of the day, is I'm going to go over here and do something first. So I'm going to come over here to C. And then if I come back to B, which is the eating the snacks or whatever, so be it. But I'm interrupting that pattern. And it's kind of like that, and I like that. And one thing that has helped me, because you kind of touched on this earlier, like having a family, you don't want to bring stuff home to the family. Like, I fortunately and unfortunately live 4 minutes from where I work, right? So it's nice because I can get there quick if I need to, whatever. But like, it's not enough time for me if I'm like, I'm done and I like got a bunch of stuff on the mind and I just run into the car and then I run home and I like still haven't like sorted out my thoughts, right? And so I come home and a lot of times I would just bring not even necessarily stress, sometimes it was, but like it was just like a lot of thoughts, right? And so I started to use triggers. And you mentioned triggers a couple times for different scenarios, but like the way I've viewed triggers recently is if I want to change my state or if I want to change behavior or whatever it is. So for me, it was instead of bringing stress home or bringing work home or, not being engaged with my family is as soon as I saw my doorway of my front door, like I almost viewed that as like going through that and I like have to leave everything else back there, right? I don't do it every time. I still forget sometimes, but like more times than not, I try to do it, and it's been super helpful. I come in with a different mindset. I come in where sometimes I would just walk in, throw my stuff down, and like, I don't even know what I would do half the time. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say hi. I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Which is not necessarily like me, but like when I'm in robot mode, a lot of times I call it, or my wife calls it. I'm just not like emotional. I'm just like I'm like a freaking computer. You know what I mean? And that's like allowed me to kind of like almost like become human again. You know what I mean? In a sense of this conversation. And it's just been really helpful. So I think like as David's talking about a lot of these things, like obviously you don't have to do all of these things. He's giving you a lot of different suggestions. Some might like the meditation, some might like the breathing, some might like just going for a walk or whatever it is, listening to music. I love the music one too. That one helps me out a lot. That's probably the main one for me that helps me just like more de-stress and just change my mindset. Um, but I think the key for this is to start small. It doesn't mean like, all right, I'm gonna do the meditation and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And even if you just choose one, don't go gung ho on it. Like you don't have to all right, I'm gonna meditate for an hour. Good luck. I guarantee you you're not. Like it's like start small. Like just commit to doing it and be okay with however long it is, right? If like, all right, I'm gonna commit to start every day with meditating, or I'm going to start every day with a walk or water or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't mean you have to walk 17 miles. Like, just say, I'm going to walk for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I'm going to walk for 3 minutes. Just get in the habit of doing the thing, and then you can kind of build on it over time. And one thing we've used with a lot of clients when we're doing goal settings and stuff is, we create a plan with them. And at the end of the plan, we say, how confident are you on a scale from 1 to 10 that you're going to follow through with this plan? Right? And if it's anything below like a 8, we say, all right, scrap this, or what do we need to take out of this to make it a 9 or a 10 out of confidence level? So, like, as you're kind of thinking through some of this stuff of what to do, figure out what you want to do and then ask yourself, okay, realistically, like how likely am I going to do this every day or once a week or whatever your thing is. And if it's not like a 9 or 10 out of confidence level that you'd follow through, then you need to scale it back even more, right? So if it's like I'm going to walk every day for 20 minutes to start my day, if you're like, I'm on like a 6, I might do that. Okay, scale it back. I'm going to walk once a week for 5 minutes. Okay, that's I can do. You know what I mean? And then you can kind of build from there. So I think that's a really key factor in this is even though David's giving you a lot of suggestions and tools, which is great, don't feel like you have to do all of them. Don't feel like you have to go crazy with any of them. Just start small and then stack it over time, obviously with other habits that you're already doing to make it easier, and then build upon it over time. And you'll be amazed at how much of an impact that can have with any type of habit you create.
Yeah, Danny, I'm really glad you brought that up because, yeah, definitely don't try to do all of them at once because I'm kind of that person. Like when I get in a mode, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna redo everything. Like I'm gonna change 20 things all at once. I'm gonna paint the Sistine Chapel. I'm do all these types of things, and it just gets then you do none of them. Then truly by the third task of the first day, you are overwhelmed and you do none of the things you intend on doing. So yes, picking, just doing one at a time, picking it at a lower level, like they said, walking once a week for 5 minutes or 3 minutes. You don't have to, walk, across the country or anything crazy. Yeah, so I can't understate that enough how important that is. Pick something that's digestible and doable because you can always add more. You can do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and once you've really built up a habit and you feel that this is something that you can stick with, add one more thing or upgrade it. If it was once a week for 5 minutes, maybe it's twice a week for 5 minutes. I mean, you can adjust all the variables you want, but you can always add more, but it's so hard to plan and have 1,000 things you want to do and then do none of them, and then you're kind of back at square one again. So really pick like the one thing I kind of think of, and I try to think of this like with health and fitness, with all these type of things, is like a minimal effective dose. Like what's like the like and the way I kind of think is like what's the least I can do to get the most out of it? Because we have finite time, we have finite energy, we have finite resources, and trying to do a bunch of things is can be too much. So how can I get the most out of my day, but be the most productive about it and do the least amount of extra garbage, extra stuff that's getting in the way. So like for if you're a negative momentum blocker, if your minimal effective dose is once a week, 5-minute walks, perfect. Then rock those out once a week and you'll be feeling great. You don't have to go crazy. And that's one thing that I'm really glad that Danny brought up because I think it's really crucial. And yeah, again, these are just suggestions. There are so many. And again, there's ones that maybe Danny and I wouldn't even think of, but because you know your life, you know how you do things that that you find one that again that we wouldn't have thought of, but it works great for you. So take some time to explore what works for me, what makes me feel good, what makes me feel bad, what are things that I turn to when I'm having a good day and when I'm having a bad day. And how you can organize your day and organize your habits to really get you the best day possible, or at least turn around a really bad day to make it maybe an okay day.
Did you want to add anything else? Okay. All right, guys. Well, hopefully that was a ton of knowledge for you guys there. David, really appreciate you kind of coming on and kind of sharing some of that, perspective on things and how to stop negative stoppers, how to have triggers, how to incorporate things so you can kind of stack wins over time and just set up your set the tone for a better day, a better week, and a better life. So, David, greatly appreciate you for coming on here and sharing that today. And if you guys found value in this, we don't do ads. We just ask if you could share this with somebody that you think would find this valuable. Give us a rating and review, and we will see you next time on another Confidently Flawed podcast episode.